Okay, so let me introduce our panel speakers, and then we'll get started with a round of questions that are for all of you, and then I have some individual questions for you. So we have on the far left here Aaron Dubois. He is the VP of Digital at Phelps Group.
Hello.
He's been with Phelps for 3.5 years. He was previously the COO for the branding firm. Aaron has 15 plus years of experience in the marketing and the agency world, and those positions include working for Phelps, the branding firm, and multiple positions at TBWA Chiat Day. We also have Jessica. Jessica is the project manager for Added Value.
Hello.
She went to school in Venezuela. She's worked in the marketing world for over 5 years and has been with Added Value for 3 years. We have Becca James.
Raise the roof.
Becca is the Director of Insights and Strategy for Internet Marketing. She's been with IMI for 6 years and has almost 10 years of agency and PR experience. And last but not least, we have Sean Jacobs. He is the Digital Analytics Manager for David and Goliath. He's worked for David and Goliath for just under a year and has 5 years in the agency world, working at agencies like Phelps, TBWA, and UM. Tell us a little bit more about the role that you have with D&G.
Yeah, awesome. So I work for David and Goliath. We're a creative agency over just south of LAX, so we're awesomely positioned by the worst traffic in LA. Basically what we do is we work for Kia and a couple other clients like Jack in the Box, and I'm the digital analyst there. So basically what I do is I try to quantify and elaborate to what's working with our media and what's not working to give us ideas to be a little bit more proactive to the consumer and hopefully give you something that you want to see instead of a branding message that's maybe a little bit brand heavy. So that's what I try to do, and I try not to muck it up.
Becca, tell us about your role at IMI.
I actually started the content marketing department about 3 years ago, and that's when I started using NetBase to make our content more data-driven. That was actually our tagline, but then when I came into the company, I didn't really see as much data as I thought there should be, which I feel like you guys should all relate to. So I feel like NetBase really helped us understand what the consumer wanted versus what the brands wanted. So then I started the Insights and Strategy department a few years after that, and we've actually had a complete agency reorganization around NetBase. So now all of the analytics and insights are at the center of our agency, and then we disseminate all of that great information, and we don't really even build a strategy before understanding what our customer wants.
Thank you. I'm Jessica. I'm project manager of Added Value. So Added Value is a global marketing consultancy and consumer insights company. And of course, like there's a goal for Added Value to infuse social media in all we do and the research we work on every day. So I work with a team, social media team, and that's what we try to do every day. Yeah, and we are recent customers of NetBase, so this is gonna be really informative for me as well. Thank you.
Sure. Okay. My name is Aaron. I'm the Vice President of Digital at Phelps. We're a 35-year-old integrated marketing communications firm. I help to ensure a strategic approach across all channels, digital and not. I work with our client teams to make sure that we're not just building websites and executing on social media shiny objects and media campaigns, that we're really focused on the customer journey, how they're interacting with each point where the brand exists. Our teams utilize NetBase heavily to focus on what do our customers sound like and act like at each one of those touch points, and how can we craft a voice for our brands and develop strategies that are optimized in how they engage with those people at each one of those touch points to drive them to conversion, to drive them to a deeper engagement with the brand, and to do kick-ass shit for our clients. Thank you.
So we have a mix of agency folks and brand folks in the room, or on the roof today. So can you tell us give us an example of the most interesting or unexpected thing you discovered on social using NetBase?
I think the biggest one that comes up for me is the Super Bowl I just passed. One of my main clients is Kia, and we use a guy that has no social following. We use a guy that doesn't have a cell phone. we use a guy that still uses a landline. We have to actually send him paper mail instead of emails. Is Christopher Walken. So we used him as a guy that kind of added pizzazz to the key messages here. And how we did this was kind of proving that not only does he not have a social following, but he has a curated following from all his fans. So there's things talking about cowbell from 10, 15 years ago. There's all of his like famous movie spots. And what we did is we created this really awesome, inspiring, we think, commercial that talked about Christopher Walken adding pizzazz, strangely in someone's closet, which was a little bit weird at first. But then we sent around socks, we sent around different things, and we kind of built it out a little bit more. And it was a partnership that kept on evolving. Stance is another one of NetBase's main clients. They have Audience 3D. They have a ton of light pulses in their actual warehouse that I got to see. And they also made us some awesome socks. And basically what we did is we used a guy that doesn't have a social following, and we made him one of the biggest talked about people or characters in the Super Bowl this year. So I think that was kind of showing our clients not only, it's not about what the person is saying, the character, the celebrity, the actor. It's about what the community is saying about them, and that's what you can show with NetBase, and that's how we turned something that was going to be, maybe a dog spot or something that's going to be totally an automotive commercial into something that we thought was funny, and hopefully you guys did too.
I guess the most interesting thing that I learned is that social media listening can actually impact the bottom line. One of the first times I ever used NetBase, I used it on a campaign to help people find the best glasses for them. It was a 9-question quiz, and within the first 6 months of launch, we generated actually $1 million in revenue with over a $300,000 in return on investment. So it just shows that if you really get to know what your customers want, and if you start with what the customers want before what the brand wants, then you can actually connect that bridge successfully.
In my case, I think the best example, since we are recent customers, I could think it comes from New York, from the consulting team. They were basically partnering with the ad agency to develop communication territories. So they went to NetBase for 2 reasons. First, they were trying to find some inspiration of concepts that maybe they may be missing or like something like that. And then second, they were trying to see if they could support the ideas they already had. So after going to NetBase, they figured there's a bunch of, actually there was one subject we haven't thought about. And after quant and qual work, that was the winning concept for the client. Unfortunately, I cannot reveal the client. So sorry. So that ended up to be, that was a winning concept. It came from social listening, and a creative brief was developed, and a print ad and a TV ad afterwards. So I think that's a great example of how consumer insights, and in this case, social media, support creating a brand strategy from the team and the client.
But we have a client that had identified a very affluent male target, and for quite some time, even before we took on the client, they thought that the way to speak to the affluent male client was in this very proper, affluent male tone of voice, and we were really beating our heads against the wall because we didn't agree with them. We thought that that the whole nature of this product, I'm going to try and say very ambiguous to this, but the whole nature of this product and service that they were selling was to speak in this other, much younger, hipper tone of voice, because that's what this more affluent male traveling market was looking to hear. By way of really getting targeted in how we used NetBase to identify conversations that were taking place, dialogues that were taking place, we were able to really demonstrate that the resonant tone that our brand needed to take was this younger, hipper tone. That the contextual analysis that NetBase provides really helped us to hone in on those specific conversations and prove our point, and allowed us to pivot the strategy, not to use a terribly overused buzzword, but to adjust that strategy to be more on point and redefine the voice of the brand, and then through tools that NetBase provides, really show quantitative measurement on a change in success from how we were talking on behalf of that brand. So it was very telling. It was kind of a told you so moment, but to be able to, with the client, run a test and say, hey, if we listen to what our target market is not only saying, but what they sound like, and if we kind of adjust in increments, we can really keep our finger on the pulse of the reaction to that change. And the proof is in the pudding, and it worked, and it was a fantastic example of how NetBase is that kind of tool.
So you're all obviously NetBase users, Stalker, and we thank you for being NetBase champions. So this next question is a two-part question. The first part is, have you used other social listening platforms?
Yes.
And if you have, can you speak to some of the strengths that you see and the value that you get from NetBase?
Sure. I have used other social media platforms, Radian6 and a handful of others, and not just social listening, but just analytics platforms. NetBase, a fantastic UI. I think that's really helpful, because with a tool this powerful, it is just as easy to find insights that are wrong. It is very, very possible to dial in on something that hasn't been well thought through, because the tool is too complicated. I think by way of a really great user interface and fantastic customer service, NetBase is a lot easier to use and helps to kind of safeguard against coming to conclusions that are just not right. I've seen that happen many times where, gosh, what was it? It was a baby product related brand, and somebody hadn't taken into account to remove the couponing aspect of it, and it threw the net sentiment way off. And it was because the tool was too hard to use. With NetBase, along with the analysts that they provide, I think it allows you to really identify where those pitfalls could potentially be, and have the insights be a lot more powerful.
Not only am I at work at AV, but I actually started as a community manager and studying social media at UCLA. I could get a good grasp of a lot of platforms. So CISOMOS, Brandwatch, Crimson, Infogee, Dodges, a lot. So I think one of the great things of NetBase, and I will get a little bit more technical, is the tuner. So that feature that allows you to type your brand or whatever you're looking for, and at the same time they mention hashtags, terms that are being used at the same time with that term, just saves a lot of time, and building on your answer helps you see if you really are pulling the right data. It's and you have it right there. It's really fast. You can include whatever you need, and yeah, I think that has been like the best thing I can think the team and I have worked on, and really get really fast results.
One reason why I really love NetBase is because we have a lot of other tools that are more quantitative, more based on forecasting, trend data, a lot of numbers, a lot of things that execs really like. But when it comes to actual customers, I think that it's really nice to hear the qualitative view. And I have used a few other tools, but nothing is quite like NetBase, because it's really easy to use. And just like to echo the sentiment, I really love the analysts at NetBase. They really help me bounce ideas, and if I say, what do you think about this? They're able to highlight other things and include and exclude a lot of filters that maybe we don't really understand as well as they do. Yeah. And they really help make the most use out of it. They really listen to you, which is really nice.
When we look at like the different tools that I've used in my lifetime working in the ad industry, I used to work at Chiat Day, as you all know. Chiat Crew, give it up. You gotta make a little noise. And we use Radian 6. We use NetBase. We had to use Radian for Infinity, and basically this is what the clients use, so we had to say the same thing. But getting to compare them side by side, NetBase is a lot quicker. It's a lot cleaner. You can actually clean a lot of the topic before you actually produce it, which saves a lot of time and a lot of hassle from going in and maybe getting a false positive around an idea. And it leads to a lot cleaner of an actual analysis. Then going to David and Goliath, which I've been there for less than a year. We first had Crimson Hexagon, and I've heard about this tool working at Phelps, and we got the Crimson Hexagon rep to come in, not as cool as you. But basically, unless you can hear me, that's not good. But basically, we got in, we saw it, and it looked really cool. It had a lot of bells and whistles. It had the new UI. It had a couple of the starburst charts, as they call them. But we didn't know how it worked from putting it all together. So what does the back end look like? Now, when I started at David and Goliath, we actually had Crimson Hexagon, and I got to jump in, and I was completely, utterly just disappointed on what was in the back end. So it was this beautiful, shiny object in the front, but once you get to the back end, you're actually an operator. It's not something you want to use. It's not as easy cleaning it. You have to actually build the topic, let it spool, and then go back in and re-clean it. So it wasn't as easy to get what you're looking for with NetBase. And tomorrow's Friday, so we're going to all read the updates tomorrow, so that'd be great. But every Friday, every month, we get to see what changes from bringing out the Boolean logic, which I think is very impactful. It's a very powerful way of actually taking your topic and making it very fine-tuned to exactly what you're looking for. And with social listening, you get the worst critics out there. You get a whole bunch of trolls. And basically, it's one of the easiest ones to find those trolls and exclude them from your analysis, because then you can get actual true results. It might not be, the biggest results when you're looking at a narrow-casted view, but it's very powerful. You get to understand what people really mean and the customers that you actually care about. And I think you guys just keep on building and building on this tool that is already a leader in the industry, but you see as something you don't want to be kind of set back and being, I'm gonna stay here and just, rest on my laurels. I'm going to come forward and I'm going to bring new things, like when you guys shared all the certified topics and themes. That made everything a lot easier, because you can actually look at things from an automotive perspective. You can see if someone's going to be buying a car. There's easy topics in there now that you can kind of look at. So.
Continuing the conversation around the Super Bowl campaigns, because we do have folks from both agency and brand in the room, can you speak to some of the deliverables that were handed back to the client, like teardowns after the Super Bowl campaigns were run, and some of the value that the client saw?
Yeah, I think, whoever's worked on Super Bowl in this room, or I guess this lovely rooftop, we all know that it's going to be 6 months of, can I swear? No. Yeah, 6 months of hell. It is, you basically give away your life for a little bit to be in this 30 or 60 second spot, and you want to get the most out of it, and so do your clients, and they're spending a lot of money. So basically, our war room was our kitchen, which has a couple TVs. We brought in more TVs for the live pulse, but as soon as the game actually kicked off, we're actually sending reporting already. The clients were in the room, so we're sending stuff live stream. They get to see and they get to interact. But once the actual game was over and everything was starting to tabulate, we had to start sending reporting 4 hours after. So that was 10 o'clock. And then we had to come back in at 4 a.m. We had to send something by 6. And then they want something in the afternoon. It's really going to change that much. But so we kept on some reporting. There was about 12 different reports in the first week, 6 in the second. And then it started getting a little bit more manageable. But it was something that when you set up NetBase, you set up dashboards, you set up your topic, you can keep on coming back and just updating your graphs. So it makes it a little bit easier to kind of go through and give them what exactly they're looking for.
IMI recently signed a 2-year renewal contract with NetBase. We all know the world of technology, especially social, changes so quickly. Can you speak to why IMI felt comfortable signing a 2-year contract with NetBase?
Yes, I actually have an email thread between me and my CFO. So I first sent him the contract, and he said back, we should sign the 2-year. And I said, well, what if we get stuck in the 2-year? And he said, well, NetBase is a leader, and I'm sure they have a great R&D. and they can develop the platform to meet with market trends. He said I wouldn't worry about that, which is pretty incredible. I mean, most CFOs probably would be the ones on the other side of the argument. But I think that can test to NetBase's team again. Every time I talk to Nani or I talk to Emma, they listen every time they say, well, is there anything about the product that you would like to improve? And they listen to me, and I think that since they prioritize clients, we're as part of the product development we are the in-house team, and I think that made me feel like if there was something that another platform had, they would make sure that they had it too. So I believe in NetBase.
Jessica, Added Value is fairly new to NetBase. Can you
True.
speak to the onboarding process, and since you've gone through that process more recently than the other panelists, what you experienced during the onboarding process, learning how to use NetBase, your team learning how to use NetBase, how was that for you guys?
Sure. I think it was really quick. So I think NetBase was really intuitive for everybody, every member of the team. Some people in the team had some research background, some others have social media background, but really getting everybody on the same page and having the training with you guys and like seeing how everybody was able to pull information, of course with some guidance maybe from Emma or from you, Nani, but really seeing how they really got, because I think one of the major concerns when you buy a platform is like people is not going to be able to use it, they're not going to like it, we buy it, they're not going to use it, you're scared. So we didn't get that with you guys. I think the trainings were great, people really enjoy using it, not only, so we have 2 teams using it right now in LA and New York. And I think it's perfect. And I need to add, I think the business model of NetBase, so it's really in line with the kind of work we do. We work with big brands. So having that cap of like, for example, 1 million mentions, that's not gonna work for us. So let's say if you're looking for Apple and you have 1 million mentions limit per month, we're not going to research anything else. There is no way. So I think that was one of the main reasons we picked NetBase as our partner.
So Aaron, Phelps also recently signed a 2-year agreement with NetBase. Can you speak to why you folks felt comfortable committing to NetBase for the next 2 years?
A lot of it had to do with you and Emma. Truth be told, they're fantastic partners to have. It's not just a matter of having a tool like NetBase. It's having people who you're going to be interacting with consistently to make sure that the tool is working for you. I've been very transparent with them that you spend a sizable amount of money on a tool like this, and the expectation from the guys I report to are that this is going to generate more revenue for us. And I told Emma and Nani that right from the get-go, and we were meeting with our CFO about that exact thing. And it's not like they're going to leave you hanging and say, well, go figure it out. They work with you to help you identify that. It's not that we just want to pass on this cost to our clients, say, oh, we're using NetBase now, so you guys have to pay for that. But it's working with the NetBase team to identify those processes that we can develop internally to create NetBase power users, to find ways to efficiently work new roles and responsibilities into our scopes of work that provide value to our clients. It's a more detailed level of ROI that they're getting. And you're not having to do it by yourself. You're doing it with partners. And I think that's really what it comes down to, is that it's a partnership with a team of really smart software developers who really understand what the landscape is of social conversation, of earned media, and how to listen for it, and how fast it's evolving. And it's really the key, that it's just evolving so fast. And if you're not talking to and interacting with these people on a daily or weekly basis, you're going to get caught. You're getting this point where you're not utilizing a tool that you paid a lot of money for. and your clients aren't getting the value for it. So they make sure that there's this framework of a relationship to set us up for success and to set our clients up for success. And that's why I signed the contract.
Anybody have a question for the panelists?
How big a part of your like day-to-day would you say NetBase is? Like, are you checking in every hour, or is it something that's in the back burner and you only check in when you need it?
I'll answer really fast. I mean, a lot of ours is centric to new business development. We have a handful of accounts where we are using it on a semi-daily or weekly basis. Where I'm most involved is in the new business development. It's a lot more concentrated, and we'll get on the phone with Nani and Emma and say, hey, we've got this pitch coming up in 3 weeks. No, that's a lie. I'll say we have this pitch coming up in 4 hours, and say I need some help, and we'll bring them into our war room to help us develop things. So I think if you're Sean points out an extreme example of a Super Bowl spot. We're all not Super Seans, and doing Super Bowl spots like that. But I think, the key is to get it to a point where it's a regimented usage where, you've worked it into your normal everyday processes or every week processes, and keeping it consistent, I think, is where you see success.
I think from our side, I don't know if you're a customer of NetBase, but we have the alerts, so we get the alerts. And when we set up a search and we know it's good enough, we go with that. If there are new requests, new ads, new campaigns, or proposals in 4 hours, yes, we need to go there every day.
I think I use it a little bit differently than everyone else does. This is a really good question. So I'm just going to go ahead and list all of the things that I use. So they're actually specific offerings. So an industry analysis, a brand analysis, a competitor analysis, an audience segmentation analysis, a purchase funnel analysis, monthly reporting, so that's campaign monitoring and campaign performance analysis, also quarterly QBRs, quarterly analysis, as well as year over year.
What they said is definitely something that brings into my day and day. If I have to throw sheer numbers at it, probably about 40%, but it has ebbs and flows. Like take for instance, today I spent a couple hours in it looking at, Chevy had this really cool movement called Day It Forward. So they took leap year and they turned into something a little bit more. It was something about giving back and making something better about this day that normally would not come, except for every 4 years. And we wanted to see, how that did from them and what that meant, so we can help show our clients, like, hey, when you think through ideas and you give us more than one day to, process or concept around something, you're gonna get something a lot more impactful. And we use that to find out, like, oh, okay, like they really had a lot of media behind it, but it also had a lot of earned value behind it as well. So there's a lot of different layers you can bring it in, and you could literally have one analyst looking at it all day and still not find everything you want to. So it's basically as much as you want to go into it, you can, but you can also just leave it there as well.
Can you guys talk a little bit about the challenges that you face with NetBase and the problems it has yet to solve when developing your brand plan or your campaign strategy?
Yeah, I think kind of going back to a previous answer, the trolls. So there's a lot of trolls out there, and they say stuff and they'll throw a lot off. The tuner catches a lot of it, but there's new language that comes out, and I know the NLP has a lot of language built in. But there's stuff I have to go on either Urban Dictionary or Wikipedia to find out what it means. And I think it's hard to keep up with a lot of the different slang, and it's hard to keep up with the new media formats. When you look at Twitter just released, I don't know if you saw it, it's now having GIFs into it. Vine's now able to be inside the app. So a lot of it now is being picture or video. NetBase, can't interpret pictures as well, and that's something that I think you guys will grow and look at as something. Hopefully no spoiler alerts there.
Small, but it's okay.
Yeah, but I think it's looking at, the part that you have to get in, you have to really look at and kind of spend hours trying to see what that really means. As an analyst, we try to go in and we try to be impartial about what we're looking at and not have ideas or our own kind of figments of, what the audience thinks, because that kind of dilutes what you're doing. You can take any data and you can make a argument about both sides, except for Trump being a good president. Plugging that in there. But But no, I think, it's picture and video. I think that's the biggest thing.
I feel like part of it obviously is the tool, but then the other part is obviously human insight. So I think that really social listening tool and actually creating actionable insights is new to a lot of us. So figuring out how to ask the right questions, not just us, but education for our clients, figuring out how to have them ask the right questions so that you can actually apply that to strategy, I think can sometimes be really hard. But again, they're so good at saying, if I have a problem with the tool or I think there is something that we could tweak here, they put it right in, and a lot of the time they put it right through. So again, it's worth the investment.
I think regardless of the platform is how you interpret what social media is, what people is doing in it. So I would like to talk more about the concept and say that in social media, it's very important to define your ecosystem because you will need to benchmark your performance based on the industry. So, for example, if you have a service brand or instead of a product like airlines or banking or telecommunications, you will have in my case or my experience, bigger flow of negatives, so customer service handles, and you will need to understand that this is going on to really be impactful and getting those insights and turn those insights to be something actionable, like you can use and do something about it.
That's what I'd say. It's not a challenge with the tool. I mean, make no mistake about it. This is an enterprise level tool. This is advanced analytics. They make it very easy for you, and they help you a lot. But defining what this tool is going to be to your organization, whether you're a brand or an agency, is where your challenges are going to exist. You need to go into this relationship with your eyes wide open, with a lot of humility, to understand the context of the conversation around the brands you represent in one form or another, and how powerful analytics and the analysis of the conversations that you're about to witness, to listen to, how powerful that can be, because it's not hard to get it wrong. It's not hard to misinterpret what's going on. So if you're responsible for conveying information to stakeholders of a business who are going to make decisions based on what you're telling them, you really need to make sure that the processes that you've set up, the individuals that you've got using this tool, really understand how it works, and you've got that defined. I mean, we love to talk about NetBase in our office, and it gets people really excited. Well, we have this tool, NetBase. Give me a login. Let's play with it. No,
I can help with that.
Yeah, right. It's a really sexy, cool thing, but you've got to approach it with humility and understanding really the power that it can be. I mean, I despise the term social media. I don't even know what it means anymore, just because it means so many different things. But it's the virtual world in which we're all communicating and engaging with each other, whether it be a brand or a person. I mean, just think of the power of that. And this is a tool that listens to all of that and turns it into both quantitative and qualitative data. So you have to have respect for that if you're going to channel it into insights that you're going to provide to some stakeholder that's going to have an impact on business, and really work with the NetBase folks, because they deal with that on a daily basis, and they'll help you.
And thank you all for participating. Can we get a round of applause for our panelists?